Good point on the road. Look, when you go up against a team that are fifth, fighting for a playoff place, you're kind of a bit churlish maybe to say that you're disappointed with a point. So no, look, another clean sheet. So that's a good sign. We're proving ourselves tough to score against. And that's been a consistent theme now for a few months. First half, I felt that we didn't really adapt to the conditions too well, and that was disappointing. We spoke about some of that at half time, that we've got to be better in that type of circumstance. It was a bit windy and blustery, and the pitches are really hard, and it was a bit dusty, and the ball's bouncing everywhere. But the sign of a good player in those type of scenarios is to show a little bit of quality, to get the ball down, to get yourself into a bit of space, and to make the right decisions on the ball. And I just thought first 45 minutes we turned the ball over far too often. Yes, there's moments where that was under pressure, but there was also moments where we did have time. And we just didn't show the quality that we needed to. So, we adjusted a few things at half time, and actually I felt that we came out in the second half really well. We had a lot more possession, a lot more control of the ball. Obviously created a majority of our chances in the second half, and so in the first half, I felt probably a little bit lucky that we went in level. Based on the second half, I felt that we probably could have nicked the game. But look, they're a decent team, and they showed again on Tuesday night. They got a point against Fosters, so it was never going to be an easy place to go. I think it's just off the back of another 0-0 game, and that's probably a little bit of where the disappointment was in terms of goal scoring and the opportunities that we created. But as I say, on another day, Meady's effort just hits the inside of the post and goes in, or the bounce comes back and it falls to Liam or Luca, who were there, but it kind of went between them. Those are the things that happen at times, and a little bit too often for us. So look, they're the areas that we need to improve upon. But in terms of commitment from the players, that's unquestioned again at that stage. It's another game without defeat. We're trying to build a bit of a run to the end of the season with that. So look, got to be pleased with a point. Yes, there's lots of areas of our game that we need to improve upon, and we'll continue trying to do that. So I think really good news is that everyone's healthy, and for us to be in this stage of the season, 3 games to go, April, and for that to be the case, that's a real testament to the work that Lara and Vanessa have done, certainly with the players, and then in terms of the players themselves, in terms of how they look after themselves, and the way that they work. We train very regularly, and that could put a bit of a strain on players, but they're all in good shape, so that's a big positive for us. So we really pretty much got everyone available going into Saturday, apart from Cody, who's now away for a couple of games, so we'll be without him, but everyone else is fit and available, so that puts us in a good position and competitive squad heading for Aylesbury on Saturday. I guess just have a little bit of news just because it was posted on social media, so I want to make sure that people understand it. So Alfie has signed dual registration with Kings Langley, but that's really just to give them cover in games on days where we haven't got games. So he's available for us for our last 3 games, and will be with us long term, obviously. So that's something that we were happy to support him with and help them out for the rest of the season. I just wanted to make sure that we cover that one off as well. Yeah, Aylesbury, good young team. I think that they'll probably be a little bit disappointed in terms of where their league position is, and maybe this in 2025 they haven't quite kicked on as they want to. But they can pick up some really good results against good teams, which shows the capability that they've got. The less said, the better a little bit from our perspective in terms of the game over there in August. But they showed on that night that they can play quality football, that they've got players who can hurt you. So we'll respect that. We've had them watched. We know a little bit in terms of how they're going to come and approach the game. But as I've said a lot of times this season, that the biggest influence in terms of the match will be our own performance and our own approach to it. But we know it's going to be a tough game. The pitches, kind of necessitate that a little bit at this moment in time, that, it's not always easy to get the ball down and play and create the kind of quality opportunities that you want to be able to. So you have to make sure that you're really competitive first and foremost, and then when the moments do come, can we show a little bit more quality? So we'll look at that. We'll look in terms of how we compare that. But yeah, look, Aylesbury are going to be a tough test. We've got 2 home games left. Obviously on Saturday, and then we go Wormley next week. So we want to give our supporters a good sign off really over the last couple of games. But in order to do that, we're going to have to perform. So yeah, that'll be our focus as we talk about our training session tonight. Everything through the session tonight will be focused and geared towards getting 3 points on Saturday. And then hopefully we can do the business.